Alright, so first things first, to kick off today's cannabis-powered yet sports-driven talk show. It's hard to deny the positive effect that cannabis has had on sports in the past and sports today as we know it. Cannabis is a part of sports whether you like it or not.
The Fantasy Football Huddle, presented by the Huddle Chat Sports Show and your host, Dallas Clark, also known as Indo is my Nindo. Everybody huddle up, grab a piece of paper, and get settled in. It's just about time for the Fantasy Football Huddle, presented by the Huddle Chat Sports Show and your host, Indo is my Nindo. Let's get it started, baby.
What is happening, you beautiful motherfuckers? Welcome back. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Huddle, presented by the Huddle Chat Sports Network. Welcome to the Huddle Chat Sports Kickoff show we got going on week 17. One of our last episodes, our live last episodes of the year. As a matter of fact, this is the last live episode of the year. If you think about it, today's New Year's Eve. Happy New Year's to everybody out there. All of my supporters, all of my family, all my friends. Thank you all so much for tuning in yet again on another Sunday. It's the final Fantasy Football Sunday of the NFL season this year, man. I know it's fucking bittersweet. Unless you're going into the championship game, it's bittersweet right now because you're thinking of the things that you could have done better. You're thinking of the picks that you shouldn't have made. You're thinking of the players you should have grabbed in those middle rounds instead of fucking Stephon Diggs. Fuck Stephon Diggs this season, by the way. Who can agree with that? Hey, shout out to David Burns, said watching from Cedar Hills, Texas. Love having you here, man. Thank you so much for checking us out. Make sure you let us know if you got any lineup questions for your fantasy football lineup, start them, sit them questions, anything like that. We're going to try to get over everybody's information today. Like I said, man, it's week 17. It's the championship game, and if it's not your championship game, you're playing in that third place game, that fifth place game. And I hope I don't have to go much further for the game that you're playing in because, like I said, man, unless you're in that championship game, it's bittersweet right now because you're thinking of those players you should have picked up. You're thinking of those picks you made wrong. And like I was saying about Stephon Diggs, man, Stephon Diggs has been one of those big letdowns. I was talking about it with a couple of my friends earlier, Elijah, who you'll see on the episode later on today, of course. He always loves to show up on Sundays. But we were talking about, I think fantasy football next season is going to be absolutely insane because you're looking at those different players. You're looking at those different, like those Stephon Diggs, those Deontay Johnsons, those Austin Ecklers. I feel like the first round right now, when you're thinking about going into next season, the first round is hard to think about unless you're thinking Tyreek Hill, Christian McCaffrey, Justin Jefferson. You're thinking those easy picks in that first round. That end of the first, beginning of the second round is going to be hard to pick. And I feel like there's going to be a lot of league-winning picks rounds 3 through 7 next year on those Stephon Diggs, those Mike Evans, those players that seemed like they might have had a breakout season or underperformed this year. and then otherwise are going to have a different year next year. And we got to make that prediction right. But we're not worried about next season yet. We're talking about today. So as far as week 17 goes, getting into the different information that's going on, of course, as y'all have heard, the Broncos have benched Russell Wilson going into this week, which I'm confused about a little bit. I know Russell Wilson may not have been the best quarterback in the league this season, but Russell Wilson is playing better than Patrick Mahomes. He's playing better than Tua Tagovailoa, and the Broncos in the first year with a new head coach and a new scheme. All of that information. You look at the Broncos still being over 500 and vying for a wild card spot at the current moment. I know that game on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve was a little bit of an unfortunate ending for the Broncos, but it was like they played a good game. It was more of the defense that let the worst offense in the NFL and the New England Patriots go up and down the fucking field so many goddamn times. They had so many mistakes, including letting the Patriots score a touchdown, then fumbling the kickoff and letting up an immediate touchdown after that. They had a lot of mistakes, and I don't blame it on Russell Wilson. So I'm a little bit confused about this Russell Wilson situation. You're also looking at the fact that Russell Wilson is still a candidate to start next week when it comes into the out to the Denver Broncos. You got Don Clark said, I need a quarterback. The Prince is out. I definitely wouldn't go with Russell Wilson. Quarterbacks that I'm going with this week, I like Gardner Minshew against that Raiders defense, of course. We're looking at, I don't like Jake Browning. Let me look through my startums and sit-ems really fast because I made a video. I wasn't able to put it out yet this week. As far as quarterbacks go, let me see here. Yeah, I definitely would not be. I would not be going towards Jarrett Stidham. I would not be going towards Jake Browning for the Bengals. Let's see what we got here. I'm looking at just on my waiver wire that I got available. Quarterbacks that I'm looking at. Easton Stick against the Broncos, I think has a pretty damn good game today. Will Levis, I do like Will Levis. If I've got to stream a quarterback, Willie Mayonnaise, I feel like he's got that he's got that it factor that I really like watching on my fantasy football team, especially if we're having to stream a quarterback. I like going Willie Mayo. So my three options for you as far as streaming quarterbacks, Joe Flacco already played, and that would have been one of my options. But I'm looking at Easton Stick from the Chargers against the Broncos this afternoon. Gardner Minshew against the Raiders here on 11 a.m. against the here at 11 a.m. against the Raiders. And then I'm looking at what was the other one I said? Damn it. Willie Mayonnaise. He's playing the Houston Texans at 11 a.m. So I like both. I like both of those options at quarterback, especially if you need a streaming quarterback this week. If you need a last minute pickup at running back, Jeff Wilson Jr. for the Miami Dolphins is going to be splitting carries with Devon Achane. I think Devon Achane has an absolutely amazing game this week. But the Dolphins have never at one point this season really gone with absolutely one running back. You're looking at the games that Devon Achane has played well in. Raheem Mostert has also played well in. The games Devon Achane was injured, you're looking at Jeff Wilson Jr. stepping up and playing in that backup role. So if you need a streaming quarterback, a streaming running back, I like Jeff Wilson Jr. This week against Baltimore. The only problem is they're playing Baltimore, so I think that running game for the Miami Dolphins is not going to be the same that it always is. However, it's the Dolphins, and I think that they're still going to need those explosive plays. They're going to need to establish the run. So I like Jeff Wilson Jr. a lot. I saw we just had a question about Raheem Mostert. Let me pull that up. I know Mostert is out, but can you explain why Jeff Wilson Jr. is projected on my waiver with 11 points? Pretty sure he hasn't scored 11 all year. The reason being is because most games Jeff Wilson Jr. has played in and played in his second role, it's been under Raheem Mostert. And Raheem Mostert, even when Devon Achane is in, is the number one running back. Now you're looking at Devon Achane getting more opportunities. However, Devon Achane has only split carries this season. So you're looking at the Dolphins not having the comfortability going into this game to run Raheem Mostert or run Devon Achane ragged, give him 25 carries. So I think that Jeff Wilson Jr. still gets 10 to 15 carries today. I think Devon Achane gets 20 carries this game. But I definitely do think that Jeff Wilson Jr. is going to have, especially because Jeff Wilson Jr. is probably I believe, going to be used more in the red zone, more on that scoring opportunity than Devon Achane. Devon Achane, it's going to be kind of like what you see with the Lions. Jahmyr Gibbs getting them down the field, David Montgomery punching it in. Jeff Wilson Jr. is going to get that goal line work, that red zone work. He's going to have a lot more scoring opportunity this week. David Burns says Denver's blaming everything on Russell Wilson. It's just sad. A true champion. I was hoping he would be allowed to retire in Seattle. The business doesn't value what the players bring to the team. I definitely agree with you there. I thought Russell Wilson was one of those surprising ones because I thought he would be a Seahawk for the rest of his life. Same thing with Darius Leonard for the Indianapolis Colts. I thought he'd be a Colt for the rest of his life. Russell Wilson going to the Seahawks or going from the Seahawks to the Broncos. It was surprising that Russell played so bad last year, but I never lost confidence in Russell Wilson. I thought Russell Wilson would have an absolutely amazing season this year, a lot better than he's had, but he's on the right track so far this season. And I don't understand. That's why personally I have problems with Bronco fans living in Colorado, is because Bronco fans seem to be the most wishy-washy in the NFL. There's a lot of wishy-washy teams, but being in Denver and experiencing Bronco fans firsthand over and over, I'm pretty sure everybody feels this way about their local team. David, if you're not a Cowboys fan, I'm sure you feel that same way about the Cowboys living in Texas. You're looking at any time the Broncos are doing good, it's either fire the coach, fire the quarterback, or start the backup rookie quarterback, whatever, Tim Tebow mania. You know what I'm saying? Then as soon as they start winning a couple games, Josh McDaniels is the greatest motherfucking head coach that has ever coached on a football team, especially the Broncos. Then he loses the next 6 games after that. Let's fire fucking Josh McDaniels. It's just they're so quick to give up on the process, give up on what they have, and don't value, like you said, what they bring to the team. David said I take Baltimore Ravens in that game over Miami. I agree. I do also. I do want to. When we're talking about bets, I like taking that Miami Dolphins money line just because the Dolphins are such a good team. I mean, it's not unbelievable that I don't think the Ravens are going to dog walk the Dolphins today. I think that the Ravens are going to have an absolutely tough game against this Dolphins, and I really think a lot of people are focusing on the offenses against each other. I think the key portion of this game is going to be that Baltimore defense versus that Miami offense. It's like we like to say, it's the unstoppable force versus the immovable object. The best defense in the league versus the most high-powered offense in the league. That's going to be the key factor in this game is Baltimore's defense. If Baltimore's defense can stop the Dolphins from doing what the Dolphins do, Baltimore wins this game easily. But you get those explosive plays, you get those 60-yard Tyreek Hill touchdowns, you get those 35-yard Devon A-Chain runs. Miami's going to have an absolutely easy time taking Baltimore down if their Ravens defense cannot stop them. Jocelyn says Tyjae Spears or Jeff Wilson. I feel like this is a tough question. I see why you asked it. Just because you're looking at Tyjae splitting carries with Derrick Henry, and you're looking at Jeff Wilson splitting carries with Devon A-Chain. I like Devon A-Chain a little bit, or Jeff Wilson Jr. a little bit more this week, just based on the fact Derrick Henry is Derrick Henry. Jeff Wilson Jr. is splitting carries with the backup running back for the Miami Dolphins, so I feel like his ceiling is higher this week. Tyjae Spears, he's had a couple of good games, but if Tyjae Spears doesn't score touchdowns, you're not feeling comfortable putting Tyjae Spears into your flex position. I feel like Jeff Wilson Jr. splitting carries with the number 2 running back as opposed to Tyjae Spears splitting carries with Derrick Henry. I like that ceiling a lot more. What's your thoughts on CeeDee Lamb? Is he a number 1 wide receiver, almost 350 yards away from 2,000, close to Tyreek Hill? I mean, I think CeeDee Lamb, I feel like he's been quietly one of the best wide receivers in the league. I mean, not really quietly because he's been going off every game, but because Justin Jefferson was doing so much at the beginning of the year, Tyreek has been doing so much, CeeDee Lamb has been kind of floating under the radar. And I feel like going into next year's draft, nobody's going to bat an eye if you take CeeDee Lamb with the number 1 pick. So right now I've got 3 options that I comfortably would take with the number 1 pick, thinking forward into next year's draft. Christian McCaffrey, obviously. Tyreek Hill, obviously, and CeeDee Lamb. There's no other players that I feel as comfortable with. You could throw Justin Jefferson in there, but you have no idea what the quarterback situation is going to look like for Justin Jefferson. I think CeeDee Lamb is the second best wide receiver in the league, especially when you consider this season. Going into next year, CeeDee Lamb is the number 2 wide receiver right behind Tyreek Hill. And Tyreek Hill only has the edge because you got Tyreek Hill's speed versus CeeDee Lamb. But CeeDee Lamb, you're looking at the amount of volume he gets. It's comparable. It's what makes Justin Jefferson so good. Justin Jefferson doesn't need to score touchdowns to put up 15 points non-PPR for you. He gets 150 yards off those 10 catches he gets in a game. The volume CeeDee Lamb gets is damn near at a running back level. He's getting, I think last night when he got 14 catches last night, absolutely insane. Off of 17, 18 targets, that's running back numbers. You get Jonathan Taylor 20 carries a game, and Colts fans are happy. So the numbers that he's getting, the target share he has in the offense, the numbers he's putting up, what he can do after the catch, And I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm a big fan of the first down that he did. I like CeeDee Lamb a lot. That's a hella good question, Adrian. Hey, thanks for checking us out today, too, man. Been a long time. We got to catch up. Good question on CeeDee Lamb. I agree, David. Let's see, I missed one here. David said every year the Cowboys will get into the playoffs and end up blowing it, but getting kicked out of the first round of the playoffs. Bears fan all the way. I like your background because y'all beat us for the Super Bowl in 2009. Thank you so much, Manny. I'm a huge Colts fan. As you know, my name is Dallas Clark. I've started watching the Colts. Right before we won that Super Bowl, I got my first Dallas Clark jersey, and us going to that Super Bowl, it was history for me from there. But don't let the background fool you, man. We like to be pretty what's unbiased here. I don't want anybody to think that we just gonna be sitting here talking about the Colts. The big part of the Huddle Chat Sports Network is we love to talk about teams that don't get as much attention as those other teams that don't get talked about as much. We don't talk about those storylines. We don't talk about Justin Fields' potential. So I love having you here. Thank you so much for your questions, man. Streaming a tight end today. Should I take Kraft or Everett? Don't go Gerald Everett every single time. You're looking at the Chargers being devoid of talent right now. They lost Mike Williams early in the season, their number 2 wide receiver. They lost Keenan Allen a couple weeks ago, their number 1 wide receiver. Austin Eckler is not taking the target share that he's been getting in the last few years. Gerald Everett has had a crazy target share in this offense. I like Gerald Everett if he doesn't score a touchdown. If Gerald Everett scores a touchdown, you're looking at one of those breakout tight end performances. Gerald Everett is one of my favorite tight ends this week and a top 10 tight end for sure this week. You're looking at the amount of targets he's going to catch. Like I said, even if he doesn't catch a touchdown this week, I'm huge on Gerald Everett. I threw him in a bunch of my touchdown parlays. I'm streaming him in a different league as well. Gerald Everett is definitely the way for me to go this week. We're running up on the end of the episode here because I know I don't like to push it too close to 11. I want y'all to get in nice and settled in, nice and comfortable. Do not like to rush things here. So let me go ahead and run real quick through here. It seems like y'all are pretty up to date on the injury information today. So let me see what we got here. As far as injury information, of course, we don't have any Trevor Lawrence today. Colts are going to be without Zach Mostert, but Jonathan Taylor is coming back in here today. Let me finish pulling up the remainder of what we got here on the injury information. What we like to call the hurt business over here on the Huddle Chat Sports Network. Let me see here. Let me see. Give me one moment here. I'm getting a lot of information on this. What are you guys' thoughts on those penalties last night? I don't really think there was too much controversial information on those penalties last night. A lot of people are freaking out about Brad Allen and his crew last night. I feel like this was one of the few NFL games this season where I left the game, and I know that 2-point conversion they had their issues on that, but for the most part of the game there wasn't many pass interference calls. There wasn't many penalties throughout the entire game, and I don't really think that there was many problems with the officiating last night. I'm not seeing a ton of crazy inactives on the offensive side of things. Hunter Henry is going to be out today. That sucks. I put him on my fucking bets. I'm looking at Josh Jacobs being out as well. But as far as especially those morning games, there's not a ton of missing players today that we didn't already know about. Let's see here. Yeah, so it's looking like everything's pretty good on our starters and sit-ems. I want to give y'all a couple of bets for today because, like you said, I think that the refs are human and make mistakes. Actually, good question, David Burns. Von Miller is inactive today, so he's not going to be playing. Just to let you know that. Adrian Pone, back to what you said the things the refs are human and make mistakes. Exactly, and I'm not one of those people that like to go in there and say we need to get robot refs or things like that. I mean, I like you said, that it makes mistakes, and that's a part of sports, man. You're gonna get those different times in football, basketball, where they let them play, where they're more anal retentive on calls and different pass interferences and holdings. It always kind of depends on the officiating crew that you get. However, like I said, there's been a couple of huge mistakes. I think I agree with, I can't remember what player that said it earlier in the season, but I agree with the fact, I think it was Patrick Mahomes, and back at the Patrick Mahomes when he was bitching about it. I don't think that he was really in the right per se. I don't think anybody really agrees that they shouldn't have called that offsides or whatever. But there's too many games that we're finishing this season that the refs are the main topic of conversation. And I think it's one of those things that the more we talk about it every week, the more it becomes noticeable. The more every single fan base is going to be blaming their loss on the refs or that one call that was missed. Like you said, the refs are human and they make mistakes. It's just I've been talking about what is a catch and what's not a catch. We haven't really heard those conversations over the last few years because it was really relevant after the Des Bryant situation. So every single missed catch, every single potential controversial catch was examined by everybody with a magnifying glass. Now we've kind of stopped caring about it as much because it's not as big of a portion of the game. Right now, the biggest complaint is going to be that referee game, that referee performance. And I feel like we need to find different things to focus on. Like at the end of the day, I'm one of those big fans. I never like to blame it on the refs. There's a couple of times that things happen that you like to blame it on the refs, but for the most part, you got to take it out of the refs' hands. You can't leave it in the refs' hands. It's your fault that offsides call is what lost you the game. I mean, come on now. And like you just said, there's 50 calls Micah Parsons wishes he could get every game. You hear them talk about it all the time. You can call holding on pretty much every single play in an NFL game. Somebody's holding somewhere, but did you do it right or did you do it wrong? Were you blatantly holding and you got called for it? Or were you able to cheat a little bit, get your hands in there on the steering wheel and grab them and not let them go? At the end of the day, you got to let them play. And we got to stop putting the games in the referee's hands. It's not the referee's fault that the game came down to you made a mistake, you didn't declare yourself as eligible, and now you're mad because you didn't follow the correct process that we've had to follow for 55 fucking years in the NFL. So at the end of the day, we got to start putting it in the refs' hands. Cowboys got very lucky last night. Lions almost had that last minute, or they had that last minute touchdown, but they almost had that last minute 2-point conversion. Man, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know how I feel as a Lions fan, man. We missed the first. We get the first 2-point conversion. It gets called back. We miss it. They get an offsides penalty. So we've now had 3 opportunities at this 2-point conversion. Kick the goddamn field goal and go to overtime. What the hell are we doing? I also bet the over, so I really wanted to go overtime last night. But I think that I don't know how. I wish there was a Lions. I wish Jake Rings was here this morning, so he could tell me how he feels about that about that call last night, man. About I agreed with. We know who Dan Campbell is. They said that before they even scored the touchdown. If they scored his touchdown, Dan Campbell's going for 2. He don't play it safe. He don't go to overtime. He's going for the win. And I respect that. But at a certain point, man, you could have kicked that extra point and went to overtime. Plus, we would have had time left to try something regardless, and we dropped a touchdown and threw a pick in the red zone. Damn right, bro. Just like we were talking about earlier, there was hella opportunities for the Cowboys to close the door on that game. They let the Lions in there, and the Lions had a chance. But at the end of the day, they needed everything that they could get, and they were making mistakes. This was like that Chiefs call we were talking about earlier, man. Like when you're looking at Kadarius Toney being obviously offsides, you can't be mad at me for making a call, bro. Especially on a call that should have been called. That's a high school mistake. Adrian Pone played wide receiver with Mia Mitchell, and he wouldn't have done that. I mean, come on. Simple things. You can't be mad at people for making the right call. I mean, you can't complain about the time. I mean, I get what Patrick Mahomes is saying, but at the end of the day, we got to stop putting the games in the refs' hands. But it's 10:45, y'all. I'm going to let y'all get back to the pregame. Get y'all lined up set. I know I got to go put my Colts flag out, get ready for the games. So if that's going to do it for the questions today, y'all, I'd like to thank y'all so much for tuning in today. Thanks to Adrian. Thanks to David. Thanks to Jocelyn, Don, everybody that was asking questions this morning. Today was my first day on Twitter as well. So you can check out the Huddle Chat Sports Show live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter every Sunday. We're going to be having one last one next week, and we're going to continue with the Huddle Chat Sports Network, doing different basketball things, different bets, different things like that. So stay tuned to the Huddle Chat Sports Network. Thank you all so much for the support, and make sure you shoot over to the YouTube channel and subscribe if you haven't yet. Thank you all so much for your time today, man. And as always, keep your chin up and your attitude down. I'm going to see y'all next time we get up out of here, man. And y'all, good luck in your consolation brackets, in your championship games. Good luck in everything you got going on today, y'all. And I hope you guys have a fantastic New Year's. Be safe. Don't drink and drive, y'all. If y'all need somebody, if y'all need a ride, don't call me because I'm going to be at home. Call a cab company. Call Hoyser and Hoyser. Whatever you got to do, don't drink and drive, y'all. Be safe out there. Don't be dummies. Y'all have a fantastic rest of y'all evening. Good luck this Sunday, and I'm going to see y'all next week.